of this earth. No one knew where she was. The government of Pakistan denied all knowledge of Aafia Siddiqui. It was not until someone in Guantanamo Bay mentioned the name of a grey lady, prisoner 650, who was screaming in Bagram Airport Base where she was detained, and she was known as the Grey Lady. After this, it was discovered that she was the one who was detained in Bagram Air Base. The CIA took charge of Aafia Siddiqui from Karachi, from where she was abducted by the Pakistan security services. Somehow she was shot in Afghanistan, and it was said that she was trying to kill an American soldier. A woman who was 4'6", less than 10 stones in weight, very weak, with 3 children, tried to shoot and kill an American soldier. This was beyond belief. As a consequence, when the protests started in Pakistan and elsewhere, suddenly she was rendition against all international laws to the United States, where she was tried for this alleged offense. Bearing in mind that the International Law of Vienna Convention, as far as 1967, says that no one should be tried in a country where he or she has not committed an offense. The Montreal Convention of 1971 very clearly stated that the country where the crime has been committed should be the country where a person should be tried. And this, if you recall, was the argument pursued by the Scottish government in the case of Al-Magrahi, because Americans wanted to assume jurisdiction in that case. But the Scottish government insisted that the offence was committed on their soil, and therefore they will try that person. And as you know, it did happen. He was not actually tried in Scotland, but tried by the Scottish judges in Hague, in a third country. That rule was not observed. In the case of Aafia Siddiqui, she was suffering from psychosis. She was unable to understand what was going on, and yet the judge ruled that she was able to stand trial. She sacked her legal team, whom she had no confidence in, but she was not allowed to appoint another legal team. She was tried against all international laws. She was also tried against the 6th Amendment of American Constitution, which allows representation, proper representation of a prisoner. That was done. The worst thing that had happened in our case, and I have been pointing this out in all my speeches over the years, that the American court assumed jurisdiction in that case, whereas the crime or the alleged crime was committed in Afghanistan, which was a sovereign country. And if any case had to be done against her, it had to be tried in the country where she had allegedly committed that offense. Well, that was the argument which was taken up by several other lawyers, and I'm very glad to say that you might have heard the ex-American Attorney General Ramsey Clark has now admitted, and he has spoken very publicly, the same argument that I have been pursuing. He has endorsed every single thing. He has publicly stated that she was wrongly convicted. She should not have been tried in that country, and she should be released. Now, when I mentioned this in a very recent meeting to a group of young lawyers, one of them said to me, "Mr. Sabri, what makes you think that he was not a party to it?" I said, "Let me say this to you. As a young person, I was a great admirer of Ramsey Clark, who was a great human rights lawyer. And if he has been very late in condemning what has happened, at least he has done it. Someone who has got the courage to speak out against injustice is better late than never." And the second thing is, which I understand might have been the case, that he is doing this with the backing and the blessing of the American government. Some people might question this, but I think there is a degree of truth in what has been said about this second proposition, that he might have been given this understanding by the American government that if he is able to persuade the authorities in Pakistan as well as the people of Pakistan to accept that Aafia Siddiqui was rightly convicted and released on humanitarian grounds. That will bring down the tension between the two countries, and that will also pave the way for the release of many other prisoners who are detained in Guantanamo Bay and elsewhere. And most importantly, it is a well-known fact that America is going to pull out of Afghanistan. It will not be very long before America will pull out of Afghanistan, and without Pakistan assisting in the release of people who are in fact being detained for the simple reason that they were against the supplies, NATO supplies being restored, and without the help of the Pakistani government and above all the help of Pakistani people, it will not be possible for Americans to leave Afghanistan safely. And that could be one of the reasons why Ramsey Clark has now spoken out after all these years. I certainly say this: America, being the leader of the world, America being the upholder of human rights for a long period of time, has got to restore its position in the world and has got to listen to the rest of the world, that those people who look up to those countries who have got American values, or those countries who understand that the human rights are here to protect all humanity and all human beings, must stand together in this particular case, and Aafia Siddiqui will have to be released one way or the other. The only other way of Aafia Siddiqui to be released is that if there is an exchange of prisoners. There is no other way other than the persuasion of the people who are responsible for holding Aafia Siddiqui. It is my conviction that the Aafia Siddiqui will be released, that justice will be done, and justice will prevail, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum.